How's it going? I'm Jared Gillis. Welcome to another All About RVs. Today, we're going to be looking at the important topic of weighing your RV and why you should. You should know what your RV weighs. You should know what it should weigh and if you're overweight. So we're going to go through and we're going to talk about why it's important to. We're going to look at the numbers of where you should be looking so that you know what numbers and what weight you should be inside of for your particular RV and what you should do about it, how to go and get weighed, all the details so that you can safely use your RV, lower the risk of damaging it, lower the risk of getting in an accident, and lower your legal risk of potentially getting sued if your RV is overweight. So if your RV is overweight, a few of the things that can go wrong is number one, you can bend an axle. You can do some damage to your RV. Your suspension can give out on your RV, breaking a leaf spring. Not to mention that your stopping distance is going to be a lot longer because you're going to be maxing out those brakes. It's just going to take a lot longer to stop the RV. You also have a higher likelihood of your tire blowing out, not to mention that it's going to be wearing out faster the more weight and friction that you would have on the RV. You're also probably going to be getting worse fuel mileage as you're going, so you're not going to have as long of a range for driving the RV. And to top it all off, I haven't heard of this happening personally to anybody, but you could be legally liable for that if you were found overweight, you caused an accident, and somebody got injured. That's something that they could definitely look at, and it could come back on you. So being inside your weight limits of your RV and knowing what you can have in the RV or what you can tow with your truck to be able to use your towable RV or even your drivable RV like the Class C's and the Class A's. So this is important to know. Now, it's important to get the proper information for this. So there's going to be a tag on the RV that gives you the max weight rating of that RV, and that's going to be important. And there should also be some stuff like the tag on ours showed the max weight rating. It showed the different weight ratings for cargo or water, and it gave us the information of what it would be dry, empty, and what it would be if it was full. So that's important information to have. And for us, since ours is towable, we also have to couple that information with the information from our truck. So we find that in the doorpost of the truck for what the weight ratings of our truck are. Now, as we look at this sticker, I'm actually shocked when you go to an RV dealer and when you go to a truck dealership, how many actually don't know about these stickers, that they have the weight ratings on there. When you look on here, you're going to see a number that gives you cargo carrying capacity in here, and that's going to be important. So for us, we have 4,528 pounds. So that includes everything from fuel, cargo, the weight of the RV on the truck, just anything that gets added to the truck cannot exceed that number. We're also going to want to look up the gross combined vehicle weight rating so that we don't exceed that when you add the RV and the truck together. Make sure that we don't exceed that number, but usually this payload number, this cargo carrying capacity number, is the one that gets exceeded the most often when you're talking about towable RVs. But the other important number is on the actual door of the truck. Now, this sticker here gives us the important information of how much weight we can have per axle. So we can't have more than 6,000 pounds on the front axle. We can't have more than 7,000 pounds on the rear axle. But if we were to combine that, that would be 13,000 pounds. But this tells us that our max for the truck total is 12,300. So as we're doing our calculations, we want to know those numbers to be able to compare it to when we actually go to a scale and weigh the truck and the RV to see that we're not exceeding any of these numbers. Now, as far as weighing your RV, there's a few options. There's a good option that's going to be readily available. There's the best option that can be hard to come by. And there's the easy option that we didn't find any success in. We couldn't get any accurate information from it. So the easy way that we tried was using one of these little devices where you can plug it into your vehicle and it's supposed to give you accurate information to weigh. So after you either put in your VIN number, we tried the VIN number, we tried calibrating this unit to get accurate information, and it just couldn't get there for us. So usually when you use a device like this, you go from 0 to 15, and it uses that information to tell you how much your RV weighs. And when we compared it to a truck scale, it just wasn't accurate for us. So using something like a cat scale where you can pull up onto the scale is going to give you some good information. We're going to run through on how to do that because they make it really simple with the app now. And just looking at the numbers, you can see where you line up really quick. So the best way is if if you had the scale that works per wheel. And so oftentimes you can find those at a rally or an escapees event or something like that. But that gives you really good information, not only per axle, but per wheel. So that would be the best, but that equipment's usually a couple of $1,000s, and it's not always easy to find. So driving up to a cat scale will give you a lot of great information. But when you pull into the scale, you can open up the app, and oftentimes it'll just automatically detect which scale you are on, or you can put in the 4-digit code that's at the scale to begin the process. When you look at the scale, you can see that there's different portions of it. So that way you can have your front axle on one, the rear axle on another, and then the trailer axles on a separate part of the scale. And it's going to take individual measurements of each of these axles. So the first thing we did is we weighed the truck and the RV together. Then we dropped the RV off at the RV park. It was just down the road. And we came back with just the truck, and we kept everybody in it to keep the weight very similar. And we weighed just the truck without the RV to give us our numbers. So with a little bit of math, we can figure out exactly where everything is at. So looking at these numbers to see if we need to change anything, our truck weighed in at 8,680 by itself. And looking at the numbers of the truck and the RV combined, that was 22,600 pounds. So we just compare that to our allowed gross combined vehicle weight rating at 28,300 pounds, and we see that we are far under that. So we're good on that number. Then we could look at the individual axles when we have the RV on there, and we can see that our front axle is at 5,320 pounds and our rear axle is at 5,920 pounds. So since those can be 6,000 and 7,000 pounds individually, we know that we're good there as well. Now, if we add those two weights together from the axles, we get 11,240 pounds. And with our truck, we have a maximum of 12,300 pounds. So you can see that we have more than 1,000-pound buffer in our payload. We're just taking the numbers that we wrote down from the door of the vehicle and just comparing them to what we actually weighed to make sure that we're good. Now we need to figure out how much the RV weighs just by itself. So we need to figure out how much weight was on the truck. So if we take our first weighing where we had the RV attached to the truck and we add the steer axle and the drive axle, or front and rear axle of the truck, and we add those together and then subtract it from the total truck just by itself, that'll give us how much weight the RV was on the truck. That's our pin weight. So then we want to take our pin weight and our trailer axle weight, add those together, and that's how much the RV actually weighs. And ours came in at 13,920. And that's fully loaded, which is a good thing because we really couldn't add any more weight. That was our exact number of what this RV can handle, fully loaded. Now, to help you keep all this clear so that you can do your own calculations, I'm going to put a link down in the description to this work page so you can enter in your numbers and just see, is this one match this one? Are you good there? But sometimes you want to be able to figure out something for planning for the future. Say you're looking for a truck or you're looking for an RV and you want to try and figure out how much pin weight is that? Because if you're looking at that payload number and you don't want to go over that, how do you figure that out? Because that's not listed on the RV when you're buying it. So if you're looking at a travel trailer, the tongue weight on your travel trailer should be between 10 and 15% of the RV. So I usually like to take that 10 to 15% from your max allowable, your gross vehicle weight rating. It's easy to put things in your RV and before you know it, you're at that maximum number, even if you weren't planning on it. So it's best to just calculate the number from the gross vehicle weight rating, the max allowable. Now, it's important to have the 10 to 15% on the tongue of the travel trailer because if you don't, it's going to be very unstable. It's not going to be well balanced. So people can get in an accident, you can roll your vehicle, it can be very catastrophic. So you want these numbers to be proper. Now, when it comes to a fifth wheel, you want to have 20% on your pin weight. That's kind of the round number that you're looking for. So for us, if we look at these numbers and how much we had on there, ours actually comes out to about 18, closer to 19%. So we're really close to that 20% pin weight on the truck. Now, there are some tools and equipment out there for weighing the tongue of your RV when you're loading it at home, which is a fantastic idea. So I'm going to put a link down in the description to those. But I hope you see why it's important to know the weight of your RV to get a good gauge of where you're at so that you can be safe, use your RV, not cause damage, and not hurt anybody while you're out there. So I think that's going to do it for today. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos about RVing, hit that subscribe button. And if we don't see you on the road, hopefully we will see you next video.